Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Drive Pink Dialogue. It is episode number 169. Tonight, we're talking about last night's 3-2 victory over DC United. I'm your host, Scotty, and today, to make this a duet of a dialogue, I have brought on Marc Gonzalez of the False Nine podcast, who is excellent at helping us break down these games. So first, I start. Marc, you just told me that you were at the game last night. What was the environment like? What was the experience like?
Inter Miami games are always fun, regardless of the opponent. But great atmosphere for a team, fighting for top playoff seeding, a team that needs to find its footing. And I thought the fans were great. I thought the team put on a great performance, and we got 3 points. So great night.
Great night all around. How you doing, man? I should start with that. You feeling good, having a good weekend and all that stuff?
I've been under the weather, but other than that, feeling good. Hurricanes got to win. Inter Miami got to win. So I'm happy.
Yes. I was certainly rooting hard for the Hurricanes last night. Let's talk about Sergio Busquets, because this is the breaking news of today. I don't know if you saw this, but there's a reporter from Spain named Nacho Garcia, works for COPE, which is a Spanish news outlet, that is reporting that Sergio Busquets is about to announce that he's going to retire at the end of the season. I'm always a little hesitant to trust outlets that I've never heard of and or have experience with. But of course, it doesn't make zero sense that Sergio Busquets would and his agency would sort of let a local Spanish media outlet know about there's a local Spanish reporter. So I think we should take this as at least partially very seriously. It's reasonable to assume this is likely. Sergio Busquets might be done at not just Inter Miami, but with football at the end of this season. How you feeling about
it? In terms of his illustrious career, it's a perfect ending for him just to ride off into the sunset. Doing what he's been an integral part of this Inter Miami project, and just watching him play and the calmness he has and the ability he has at the age he's at. It's incredible, and he's just mastered that midfield and that position to where no one else can duplicate it, and we probably won't see anything else like it again. So it's just been a real treat to watch him over these years, if this is his last go-around this season.
Yeah, well, obviously, if he announces it officially, we'll do a more serious eulogy of his career or appreciation conversation. But for now, I think this is really interesting. The timing's interesting. I've heard that his contract negotiations were one that they wanted to make sure they got done early, and the fact that never happened. We got the Jordi Alba contract several months ago. Sounds like the Messi contract is understood what it will be, even if it's not officially signed yet. They know what the Rodrigo de Paul deal is going to be. They were trying to put this team together, and we never really got an update on Sergio Busquets coming through with a new contract. And so maybe there was always this sense that, and maybe from behind the scenes, they kind of had a growing sense that he was going to retire at the end of the season. Again, not official. We're going to wait for him to sort of make any sort of announcement before we call it official. But interesting, and I do wonder if that adds some sort of urgency to the rest of this season.
I think it does. If this report is swirling around out there, the team, especially Sergio, would want to go out on a high note and really knock it out of the park. And I think it could be, I don't want to say a turning point, but maybe something to really focus on if things start changing for the team.
Yeah, especially in that midfield where he is obviously been locked in for the last 2.5 years, right? And is going to be a crucial part to anything Inter Miami is able to accomplish over the course of the rest of this season. I remember him in that Palmeiras game in the Club World Cup being the one to understand how to break Palmeiras' press and that unlocking the game for Inter Miami, especially in that first half. I was like, you could just see it's all still there. And of course, there's an occasional mistake, especially in a high athleticism league like the MLS. But ultimately, the player's still class. And I think if he wanted to be back, he would be back without any doubt, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Anything else going around Inter Miami? I guess the U20 World Cup, which is coming up, I believe, in about a week, is the rosters were announced, and of course, Inter Miami's big star boy, the Golden Boy Benjamin Kramaski, not at Inter Miami anymore. So Inter Miami has no players going to the Club World Cup. I'm sorry, the U20 World Cup, except they just signed a replacement that's also on the U20 World Cup roster. So first off, Benjamin Kramaski on the U.S. national team, under 20 national team, is going to the U20 World Cup. If you want to watch that, it is starting in the next few weeks, or next few days rather. And then apparently Matteo Silvetti on the Argentine team. So Inter Miami still has a player there. I guess there's some doubt about whether he'll be available for Wednesday night or whether he's going to leave sooner. For those that don't know, this tournament, you have to be released by your club. So maybe Inter Miami had the stipulation that they wanted him to be available for Wednesday night's game against NYCFC. If not, then he can leave before. But if you're a fan of soccer and that's something you're interested in, just my own personal bias after the U.S. had a chance to go deep last tournament. And they got beat, deservedly so, but it was a really close game against Uruguay, who went all the way 2 years ago. I'm not sure the U.S. has quite the same talent on their roster this year, but Kramaski's going to be a big piece of it. So thought I would mention that's coming up for those looking to pay attention.
Is he going to captain the squad? Do you have a sense?
I don't know if he's going to captain. I think they have sort of some rotating captains for the U.S.
Okay.
Okay. Should we get into the game? Inter Miami comes back out with that sort of back three out of in possession look, with Jordi Alba playing way high up on the left. Chelo Wagon gets the start, so let's start right there. Ian Frey out, Chelo Wagon in. How'd you feel about it?
Always my gut feeling when Chelo goes in is unsureness, specifically because he lacks the defensive qualities that Ian Frey has, and going forward he's not as good either, so it's always a little uneasy there. Kind of felt that in the first couple minutes, when I saw it. Reassured me that Chelo is the second choice right back, but if we're going to go Wednesday into New York City, I think Ian Frey's going to get that start.
Yeah, I think so too. Let's just get into it, because I think this was one of the games where you could have predicted beforehand it might be sort of forgettable. DC United, one of the worst teams in the league, 14th. I know they've had a little bit of a bump lately with their new coach sort of coming in. Took a couple weeks to get adjusted, but they've gone undefeated for 4 straight games, including an impressive win against NYCFC. Trap game, I don't think so, but maybe on the road it was a trap game, and Inter Miami fell for it a couple weeks ago, and only came away with 1 point. At home, you still feel really good about it. Slow start to the game. Not much happening, but we'll skip to the goal scoring, which is in the 35th minute. Messi with Inter Miami sort of defending deep in their own box, gets out of it, gets the ball to Messi, who's maybe about 15 yards outside of his own box, and then he puts in that ridiculous long ball to Allende, who is able to beat Baranza 1v1 to open the scoring. Let's start there. How'd you feel about Inter Miami's first half and then ultimately getting that first goal?
I felt DC had the clearer chances before our goal, or the clear opportunities to try and score. There were a couple of set pieces and a couple of balls spilled in the box by your Stadio, unclaimed balls that were a little uneasy to deal with, and then sitting back and relieving pressure, and then Messi picks up the ball just outside the half circle, picks up his head, and Allende's making a vertical run like he always does. Gets on the right side of the defender. Messi puts that ball right in his path, and Allende calmly puts it home. I know I say calmly, like we haven't seen that before. It's been a while, so really happy for him to slot that in, and just the magnificence of Messi, on a half turn one time over the top, and Inter Miami leads 1-0.
Yeah, I think we did in real time. I don't think we appreciated quite how impressive that pass was.
Yeah.
He was very deep in his own half. That's the type of ball where if Busquets makes it or Alba makes it, we are complimenting how beautiful of a ball it was.
Mm-hmm.
And it almost felt, of course, Messi's going to put that perfectly where he needs to. Obviously, Allende runs into it. And you're right, Allende has not finished all of his opportunities over the last couple games, including some very crucial one-on-one opportunities. Charlotte, that Seattle miss that could have changed the cup final. Like, those are going to sit heavy in our mind. But this one he does put through. Inter Miami gets a 1-0 lead. And ultimately takes that into half.
Yeah, I, I agree with what you said. I think Allende has to put those games past him and just focus on the game at hand. And you can't change what's happened in the past, obviously. He can only just build on, hopefully this goal contribution or hopefully this goal just builds his confidence and is able to find that going forward because we're going to need it.
Yeah, and especially without Luis Suarez, I think,
Hmm.
especially in this game, and really even Tuesday night against Seattle, I thought he did a pretty admirable job of filling in that role as another true attacker that Inter Miami could put forward and could partner with Messi. And he had a couple positive moments. That first game, they didn't result in any goal contributions. This time, he does get the goal. So I was glad to see that for him. I'm sure we'll talk about him again later. But let's jump into the second half. Inter Miami, I think, very confident in this game. And all of a sudden, it's not so comfortable for the fans, at least. 53rd minute, Brandon Servania puts in a cross to Christian Benteke, who's being guarded by Lujan. He kind of just wraps a shoulder around Lujan, gets his head on the ball, puts in the back of the net, and all of a sudden, DC United 1-1.
Yeah, there was a big silence in the crowd. Once Benteke put that ball in, I was kind of put my hands on my head. Are we really doing this? The one guy that you really have to worry about with DC is Christian Benteke. He's great in the air, strong physical center forward. Lujan just not physical enough, not big enough, not quick enough to get in his way. Gets his head on it. Ustadi, no chance, and it's 1-1 at that point, and you're just kind of sitting there. I was like, okay, we have about 30 minutes to go. We need to find a goal and get going.
Yeah, we see some changes after that. That was the
Hmm.
53rd minute. I believe it's the 57th minute. Ian Frey comes on and Baltasar Rodriguez comes on. They take off Lujan and they take off Chelo Weigant. So attacking substitutions. You take off a center back for an attacking midfielder and you put on your better attacking right back or right wing back. They are going for it at this point, and Javier Mascherano is not wasting any time. He's putting his attacking options in, and it kind of pays off immediately. There's several real chances. Messi in the 55th minute had a really nice dribble through three guys and puts a shot on target. It kind of ricochets off the leg of Baranza and then hits the top post. But you could see they were attacking. There's another one where Ian Frey receives the ball on that right side, whips in a low cross, and Tadeo Allende kind of gets pulled down, still gets a foot on it, and it gets saved by Baranza. But ultimately, like they were creating chances until the 66th minute when Jordi Alba has a really nice entry pass into the box. Messi just really easy, simple touch into sort of maybe 9 yards outside of net, and then from that point, with no one in between him and the keeper, it was always going to be a finish. Inter Miami goes back up by a goal 2-1 in the 66th minute.
Yeah, and speaking of the subs and the timing of the subs before the goal, I think it was extremely well thought by Mascherano to put them in at that point, knowing that Ian Frey can give you more width on that side, and putting in Baltasar Rodriguez as well, who gives you know playmaking, creativity, pace. Has the technical ability to take players on, and the game instantly changed in the terms of what Miami was going for, and we saw that rather quickly. Multiple chances in front of the net. And then Messi finds that pocket of space. Alba plays a perfect ball into him. It's a one touch and into the back of the net, and you're leading there 2-1.
Yeah, that play reminded me of a moment last year in New England where Busquets puts in just an inch perfect entry ball. Messi sort of hanging out maybe a half a yard inside the box.
Hmm.
And it's just an inch perfect entry ball that he can just take with him into momentum, into space, and then has an easy finish from there. Going from there, Inter Miami maybe a little overconfident in this game, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. But DC United came after them, and you just mentioned you like the substitutions because it put guys forward, but it also made them defend with two
Vulnerable,
instead
yeah.
of three. And they tried to take advantage of that. There was a moment for DC in the 70th minute, an entry ball to Christian Benteke, and it's a nice save from Ustadi, where Lujan gets beat going that way. 71st minute is the penalty, so that just immediately after that, the ball recycles to Messi. Messi
Yeah.
puts a long ball through to Silvetti, and Baranza, the keeper, goes and tries to make a play. Doesn't get there in time. Silvetti beats him to the punch, gets tackled. Could have been a huge moment in this game. we're probably not going to spend too much time on it because they give the penalty kick to Silvetti and he hits it off the top post. So Inter Miami does not get the game sealer that third goal would have been. And then all of a sudden, Inter Miami and DC in a sort of a back and forth game. Segovia has an opportunity in the 74th minute that he puts just high. And then the scariest moment for me was that 77th minute tackle by Baltasar Rodriguez, where he makes a tackle on the defender. He gets a yellow card. The referee puts the spot about 6 inches outside the box. I don't know if you could tell in the stadium, but they showed us the replay. It absolutely looked like, to me, he was tackled inside the box. VAR looks at it. They send the referee to the monitor, and the guy comes back and says, "I'm sticking with my decision." I was pretty surprised by that. I thought it was a penalty.
We don't get the replay in the stadium. That play happened I'm sitting at midfield and it happened to my right. I couldn't really tell where it happened at first, but when I saw it was marked just outside the 18-yard box, I let us a sigh of relief. I couldn't tell where it was. And then when it went to VAR and it took quite a while, I was like, is he going to overturn this? Is it happening on the line? Does it happen in the box? Does the foul carry into the box? So when he came back and ruled it, that the ruling was upheld, that it happened outside the box, I was like, oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, he was I'm sorry, he was tackled inside the box. Inter Miami, I think got bailed out by the referee there. But ultimately, they get bailed out. They don't make anything of a good set piece opportunity. And Inter Miami is able to close the game out in the 85th minute. And of course, it's Lionel Messi once again, who has what I would consider a stunning goal. He's like 4 yards outside the box, and he kind of just floats it past Baranza into the back of the net. And it was one of those shots where if anyone else on the team had done it, we would be praising it to the umpteenth degree. And Lionel Messi made it look kind of easy.
Yeah, I agree. It's just he floats it onto his left, but he takes one touch, a half touch onto his left, finds a frame of goal, puts it perfectly, and Baranza couldn't do anything about it. It's just he's done it so often that it's just we just like shake our heads when he does it.
Yeah, I will mention 97th minute. There was a fast break from DC United. Christian Benteke puts in Burrell, who does score in the 97th minute. So the final scoreline is 3-2. But as I mentioned, 85th minute, Messi's goal kind of sealed the game for the Herons. 9 minutes was a lot for extra time. I was kind of surprised by that. But ultimately, the Herons get 3 points. This was a must-win game for their efforts to win the Supporter Shield or to climb the table in the East. And we'll talk about that at the end of this episode. But ultimately, they get the result that they needed, and the performance looked pretty good for the most part.
It did. I thought it was a well put out performance by Inter Miami. A couple mishaps defensively. I'll maybe speak about the 3-on-2 transition in the 90+7th minute, where I think that Benteke could have been passed off to Busquets, and Noah Allen takes that runner, Morel, instead of having Busquets come across the face of goal and track that where he's a lot slower. It's, little things like that can really alter how good a team is in the final minutes and not giving up a goal. But Inter Miami did what they needed to do at home, protected the home field, 3 points secured, and then move on to New York.
Let's talk about DC. Is there anything about this team that excites you for the future, or are you ready to sort of see what they've got next year, but put that chapter to bed for 2025?
Now, Christian Benteke is a player that I always liked watching him play. He's really dominant in the air, and I'm pretty sure last year he led the MLS in aerial duels won, and probably headers won from an attacking standpoint.
I think he's one of the world's greatest at that particular skill set.
So he's just a fantastic player. I'm always in awe when I watch him play. Such a strong, big-bodied center forward. Can move so nimbly at times inside the box and create. And hold up play. And he's really, really a good player. And he's about the only thing positive for DC that I can think of right now, and Hopkins as well. But other than that, I think the chapter for them this year is closed.
Yeah, but they got a new coach, and I think they're starting a new project. They've now they lost last night on the road at a team that needed 3 points, but they had gone for undefeated before that. I think I think this is maybe a positive direction for them, but of course, it's not going to look great at the beginning of at the end
No,
of a season where they're going to finish as one of
a
the worst
full
teams in the league.
a full off season under the new coach and new training staff and all that could do them good, and maybe there's a big improvement towards the start of the next season. What players they bring in, what type of formation system they want to run.
Okay, let's talk about Inter Miami, and I want to frame this conversation around the substitutions because this, to me, maybe is the recipe for how we should talk about this. Inter Miami gives up a goal to Christian Benteke, 53rd minute. 4 minutes later, which means basically immediately, Javier Mascherano makes the decision. He sends these guys to warm up, and they're just waiting for the next stoppage. Ian Frey and Baltasar Rodriguez come on. Gonzalo, Lujan, and Chelo Weigant come off. We already mentioned that. But it's a defender. Forget Ian Frey for Chelo, which is like for like from a positional perspective. It is Lujan off for Baltasar Rodriguez, an attacking midfielder who doesn't necessarily have a sound position in a structured lineup. And this is not the first time we've seen this. We saw this against Orlando City in the Leagues Cup semifinal. We saw it against Seattle in the Leagues Cup final, where he takes off a center back. He relies on a back two. It has been at times Busquets and like it was two real center backs this time and Noah Allen and Maxi Valcone, but it was taking a defender off, putting on an attacking midfielder to try and create overloads going forward. This is something that he's done 3 times in the last 5 games. How do you feel about it? Do you like the aggressiveness? Do you like the timing? He's done in the 57th minute. It's pretty early in that second half. What do you make of that?
I think it's a sight for Mascherano just to be so dead set on making that sub and so full on aggression for it. Personally, for me, if you're going to instruct or if you're going to bring on Ian Frey, who's attack minded and gives you space and pace and width on the right side, and you're also going to bring on Baltasar Rodriguez, if they're both caught too high, then you have numbers going back the other way. If you're going to, I would instruct Ian Frey to sit back a little bit with a back three with Falcon in the middle, Allen and Frey as the other 2 center backs, and have Busquets play as a deep lying playmaker and just sit in front of those two, and let Baltasar kind of roam off Messi and create one-on-ones on the flanks. That's personally how I would do it.
So you think it's too aggressive?
I think it's too aggressive, but I do appreciate him going for it, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does make sense. And I think actually it ends up looking a lot more like what we saw last season, where Inter Miami felt like they could just attack in waves and they were just overwhelming with numbers getting forward. We haven't seen that a ton this year. And so I've spent a lot of time criticizing them for not being aggressive enough. And when they do it, I don't want to be critical of it. I just want to make sure we all understand that that's what's happening. You're talking about putting Ian Frey back, but it defeats the whole purpose.
Yeah.
The whole purpose is to get an additional number forward and create these overloads and create numerical advantages. If you just take Lujan out and then just replace him with that right back, you don't actually create that. You're just putting an attacking player, like you just change your wing back for an attacking midfielder, but then you don't have a wing back. So I guess you don't have to have the answer. I just want to know, like, what are your thoughts on this more aggressive approach? Is it too early in the 57th minute? Do you want to see that in the 77th minute? Or do you like it?
I would, ideally for me, I would like to see it around the 65th minute. Give the subs and give the aggressive attack-minded game plan a good 25, 30-minute run. That way, if there's anything that happens where you're too aggressive and you're caught too high up the pitch, there's a little bit of fresher legs on, and you're able to consolidate whoever's pushed up too high. It can be someone can slide over, someone can drop to the middle. It's a little too early for me if we're going to say that.
Okay, well, you did say 30 minutes, and this is 33 minutes before the end of the game. So I am interested in this, and I'm go ahead.
I think Mascherano, when it comes to subs, he doesn't know when he wants to make them. I think he just plays the game, and sometimes he thinks too much of it, and at times it does bite you in the butt.
What do you mean? Give me specifics.
I think
that's too general of a comment.
in the LAFC game, or in the um, yes, in the LAFC game, the second half substitutions I think were thought out perfectly fine.
The LAFC
The
game.
FC in the Leagues Cup or in the CONCACAF Champions Cup when
Four
Allende was
months ago.
not play.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
that when he made those subs and we turned that game around being 1-0 down in the first half, and the subs that came on in the second half and pushing Segovia into the middle and bringing up Allende, I think absolutely shaped the game for Inter Miami that second half. We got balls uh, into the box. We created chaos for LAFC. Ian Frey was great when he came on. I'm pretty sure he subbed on for that game. If I'm wrong, I can't remember now because Chelo
Ian
may have
Fred did
started.
not play in that game.
He did not play in the LAFC.
Maybe we shouldn't go back 4 months
Okay,
to
I'm
kind of
trying to,
come up with a substitution pattern.
now,
Just for the record,
but
in that game, the only sub he made before the final scoreline was achieved was Kramaski in for Yannick Bright. Yannick Bright
okay,
came out in the
yes,
56th minute.
Kramaski moved over to the right. I ended up played as a second striker that game, and created, was able to get that penalty and and cause problems for LAFC. But for Mascherano, dude, this whole sub thing with him, because yeah, I always think of last year with Tata and not making the subs that time and holding off them. Mascherano makes the subs, but they're not the right subs. That's where I think my confliction is.
So what would you rather have seen yesterday?
No, I was fine with the subs going for it, but I think it was too early.
Okay.
I would have made them 65th and towards the 70th minute instead of 57.
Okay. So that's your only complaint.
I mean, I don't mind the subs.
Okay.
I think they gave Inter Miami a spark.
Okay. Cynical in the chat says, I loved it. Attack with multiple T's and a couple C's. I think there's a way Inter Miami could play that style all the time and just rely on their defense to hold firm. I know that could sound very dangerous in the moment. But if you have the right personnel defensively, I think that becomes a real option for Inter Miami for sustained periods of the game. Listen, last night they go into that in the 57th minute. From that point on, it was 2-1 Inter Miami, but Inter Miami created a ton of chances. They gave up a couple chances too, but when you do that, you're creating more chances for Lionel Messi and Luis Suarez and Jordi Alba and our players. And yeah, you're going to give up a few to these MLS caliber attackers on the other end, but I kind of like my chances at Inter Miami having a ton of opportunities for Messi and Alba and Suarez, and the best players in the league getting more opportunities. And you can do this by taking one guy out of the defense, putting him higher up the field, and creating these overloads and mismatches and all this other stuff. So I kind of like it, and part of me wouldn't mind. Well, what I will say is it does look a little chaotic and a little bit less structured. And I don't know if Javier Mascherano is really comfortable with that, although I think he's becoming more comfortable with it because we've seen it a couple times over the last, 5 games. I'm very interested in this, and maybe we should just leave it at that for now, because if this is something we're getting into where the first moment, Javier Mascherano needs some offense in the second half, he pulls this trigger, he takes off Lujan or Falcone or Aviles or whoever the defender is, and he puts on a Segovia, he puts on a Baldassar Rodriguez, he puts on a Silvetti, whoever it may be, Allende, and starts to create some overloads. I think there's a world where that could be pretty devastatingly effective for Inter Miami.
At the same time, as devastating as it is, and the waves of attack, I mean, we tend to drop Busquets as that third center back, as you mentioned. That's the only thing that worries me, because at times, no, he didn't. But in games that we've seen that Busquets drop as a third or second center back when pushing high up the pitch for a goal. That's the only worry that I have if he's caught out of position against a counterattack. But other than that, I like the aggression. I would have probably waited a little bit longer, but that's just me.
Okay. It's actually the second set of substitutions that I have a little bit more of a problem with. Let me get rid of that LAFC game. Inter Miami in the 69th minute takes off Tadeo Allende, who had scored the goal, and I think it's fine. We have seen his energy and his ability to make those really high-paced runs in the last 20, 30 minutes of the game. It does tail off. So him coming off doesn't bother me at all. I was excited to see Matteo Salvetti for a little bit longer than we got to see him last game. He gets about 30 minutes in this one. But they also take off Yannick Bright for Talasco Segovia. And this one is leading me to my big talking point about this game is you're in a one-goal game. It's 2-1 at that point. And Yannick Bright you're talking about hitting in transition. You're worried about Busquets. You know who really can help in those situations? Having your best true anchor defensive midfielder back there, Yannick Bright, comes out of the game in the 69th minute for Talasco Segovia, who is, he's a good midfielder. He's a good attacking player, but he's not the defensive workhorse and intelligent defensive player that Yannick Bright is. This one is the one that really kind of bothers me because it felt like a lack of respect for a team when you only have a 1-goal lead, but it is also so out of the ordinary from what we've seen from Javier Mascherano this year, where he's gotten a 1-goal lead and really, trying to put this politely, puckered up and went very defensive and let the other team have the ball and built his very well-structured back line. He instead decides to take his defensive midfielder out and get another attacking player. So we just talked about the first set of substitutions, very attack-minded. Second set, also pretty attack-minded for Inter Miami, and it results in a ton of chances. And we talked about them, and Inter Miami creates a ton of good opportunities, and they finish with over 3 XG and all this other good stuff. But it was a 2-1 game, and DC United was going to get another chance or two because we've already made ourselves a little bit more vulnerable with that first set of substitutions. How'd you feel about that moment?
I would not have taken out Yannick Bright for all the purposes you just said. I think bringing on 2 more attack-minded players was just out of the blue. I would have been fine with Salvetti coming on or Segovia, one of the other, but I think in a game that would turn to be would be open with chances going back and forth, I think you need Yannick Bright sitting in that midfield. So I did not like that part of his substitution pattern.
And part of me wonders if this is just him trying to get more attacking, or if it was just him wanting to get Talasco Segovia on the field and he had to bring someone off and he wasn't going to be Busquets or De Paul or Jordi Alba. So it's not necessarily that he was in trying to take off his best defensive midfielder. It could have just been that he had to take someone off and Yannick got the short end of the stick. But it screamed to me a lack of respect for DC United. It could have come back to bite them. Last month, they played DC United in DC. It was full rotation. It was only the second time we've seen that all year. Ryan Saylor started that game and a bunch of young guys. And we get a draw, right? And those are 2 points that really could have helped us right now. Last night, against an inferior DC United team, they get away with a 1-goal win. They had plenty of chances, but DC United had some chances. Ustari did have to make some saves. They had a potential penalty that wasn't given. This could have been a draw for a game where one side I thought was clearly better. And that does make me nervous. It's not something we've seen a ton from Inter Miami this season, but in this game specifically, I thought, and last month as well against DC, it was clear to me there was a lack of respect. And I think it starts with the lineups. I think it starts with the coaching and preparation for the week, but it even carried into the game. For example, the decision to give Salvetti that penalty when it's still a 1-goal game and that penalty could finish the job.
Yeah. When I saw Salvetti was taking it, I was kind of shaking my head. I get it. He wants to get his first MLS goal, but there's a time and place for that. And right now you're a team that's trying to rally around and gain points, and there's still time on the clock. You need to close the game out as soon as you can. And I think Messi should have taken it. And that does serve as a lack of respect for the opponent, thinking that, you've got the game in hand, you're going to give this to this person and he's going to take it and he's going to score. But, he smashed it as hard as he can. off the crossbar, and it was a 1 goal win in a game where it could have ended in a tie. So Inter Miami needs to respect the opponent, play the game to the final whistle, and then it all comes down to the manager, and putting in the lineups and putting in the right subs and right tactical formations and all that stuff.
Yeah. Sorry, something just came across a notification I got on Twitter that is something we're definitely going to talk about once we get through awards. Yeah, it's the first time I've seen it this year, but I certainly noticed it, and I wanted to make a note of it. I'm not worried about it happening in Miami. I will say, actually, you look at the schedule, they have some games against lower level competitions. Lower level competition. I hope we don't see this again. I hope they ensure they get 3 points before they start messing around. Again, if Messi scores that, you go up 3-1, and then you can just sort of force feed opportunities to Stilvetti and still try and get him his goal.
Yeah.
Yeah, goals are so valuable in this league and in this sport that I didn't like that in a 1-goal game. I get why they did it, of course, but I didn't love that. Okay, anything else you want to talk about before we get to awards?
Yeah, one thing I noticed, or I've noticed all season, and I guess more prominently now, Inter Miami really struggle to play out of the right side um, from the back, whether it's Ian Frey or whether it's Chalawegan at times. When they funnel the ball from Lujan or from Ustadi to Lujan to the uh, right sided part of the pitch where it's Wegan, we tend to just kind of send in a long ball or ball down the line or a ball and rarely gets intercepted, and it's turnovers and the ball going the other way. I like it, just to recycle possession, just move the ball and find the middle of the park and find Busquets more often. Those are just things that I just noticed yesterday. From
They don't ball progress particularly well down that right side.
yeah, down that right side, specifically from the back, and playing out of the back short with Ustadi to whoever it is. It's following across. It's a ball down to the right. Cello's almost at the halfway line. He's got to bring it back, or he plays a long ball and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, it's definitely true. And I think maybe this is more structural than anything. That right back plays very high, whether it's Ian Frey or Chelo Wegan.
Yeah.
They are trying to be part of the second phase of build-up, not the first phase
Yeah.
of build-up. But the person that is supposed to be responsible for that, in my opinion, is Rodrigo de Paul, who oftentimes plays on that side. And again, I've said it many times, but his contributions has been underwhelming for me so far. But maybe we'll talk about that more in awards, if not after. So I think you're absolutely right to notice that. I think it's pretty clear that that right side is not where Inter Miami is going to be particularly dangerous ball progressing, unless occasionally we see Ian Frey sort of dribble past someone and kind of dribble into open space. But aside from that, we don't get a lot of ball progression from that side, especially in the first phase of build-up. Okay, let's get to awards. And because I'm a gentleman, I will let you go first. Mark, you get the Heron of the match. Why don't you enlighten all of the good people in the game where Lionel Messi scored 2 goals and had an assist, who you're giving the man of the match to. But remember, it's your choice.
No, it's my choice. Giving it to Lionel Messi. As a captain of this team, we had a couple of performances where he hadn't lived up to the expectations in that Seattle game, in that Charlotte game, and in a game where you must win, and these are must-win situations, must-win games for this team. He performed at the highest level, active on the offensive side of the ball, really looking for that final ball into Alba, into Allende, has the assist to Allende, scores 2 goals, really trying to make a lot of things work for Inter Miami. And he was a focal point of the offense, like he always is, but he produced this time. And as a captain, he stepped up, and this is what we're expecting him to do the rest of the season.
Yeah, he's a superstar. Healthy, too, I think it is maybe one of the biggest takeaways. The last couple games, he has looked 100%. And it was not long ago in the latter stages of the Leagues Cup where we were talking about he's playing, but he's not 100%. He missed a couple games just before that. So he looks healthy. He looks good. He looks comfortable, and all of that's great. Do you know how many braces he's had this year?
Is this his 10th brace?
It's not his 10th brace. It's his 7th
No,
brace of the
7.
season.
I don't know. I said
Uh,
10.
that's ridiculous. 10 would be even
He's got,
crazier.
yeah.
Um,
He might get there.
7 braces. Yeah, he might. Inter Miami might need him to get there. 7 braces this year for the brace man. 0 hat tricks. I went back and counted his entire Inter Miami career so far. He's had 15 braces and a hat trick. So 16 times he scored 2 or more goals at Inter Miami. When he's playing like that, it's. I mean, Inter Miami's going to be hard to beat against, compared to anyone. So he looked good. He had plenty of opportunities. It could have been 3, it could have been 4 for him. He doesn't take the penalty. He has a couple moments where either it's a nice save by the keeper or he puts it just wide, but he's getting into dangerous positions. And to me, the sign of his health and form always comes when he's dribbling 3-4 guys. When he does that multiple times a game, he had a couple nutmegs in this game. When he's doing that, he is.
He's at the top of his game and healthy when he's doing that.
Exactly, and he looks really good when he's doing it. So, Lionel Messi, obviously the man of the match, dude. An assist, like a beautiful assist, one that if it was any other player, we would be. Again, I said this already, but it was just beautiful, and he makes it look easy. That first goal was an incredible pass by Jordi Alba, but he is right there to slot it in, and then his second goal is like again, he looks like he just takes a step to his left and then floats it in. But of course, it's 4 yards outside the box, and the keeper can't get to it. It's a thing of beauty, man. He absolutely is. The best player in the world still.
I agree.
Okay. The heron that flew north. My turn to give out this award. I will say I thought it was a little difficult in this game. I thought I thought about Matteo Silvetti because he missed a penalty, but I don't want to punish a kid too hard, especially off the bench. He didn't have a ton of time to make his mark. I thought Baltasar Rodriguez, maybe. I didn't think he had a particularly impactful game, and he did have a moment that almost led to a penalty given up. But ultimately, I decided to give it to Gonzalo Lujan because he is clearly the guy that's not where he needs, not handling business like he should have against Benteke. And also, like on the rewatch, there's just all these moments where he's just a little sloppy. He pushes the ball, he passes to Falcone, and it's 3 yards behind him. He has to go chase it. There was a moment in the first half where Ustari goes high to claim a ball, and he drops it, and it looks bad on Ustari because he's going to claim it. He doesn't get it, and it kind of the ball's in a dangerous area, and it finally gets cleared. And it's because Lujan's backing into him, and you only notice that on the second watch. There was a poor communication there. So for me, it was Gonzalo Lujan. In a game where all the starters I thought played well, he was the one guy that I think there was some criticisms for. So not a terrible outing. Obviously, the goal it's harsh to punish someone for giving up a goal to Christian Benteke, who is a great player. But it was just some of the little things throughout the game that kind of pushed me in this direction. So Gonzalo Lujan, heron that flew north.
Yeah, I would have to agree. If I had to give this award, it probably would have gone to Lujan. Like you said, small moments in the game where you just kind of like, what are you doing? Specifically with advancing the ball and progressing the ball, at times he just gives it away and passes it to DC United or 3 yards behind the player, just not on the right read for the defensive assignment. Things like that, just he's not very good. We know that, but in a game where it was difficult to kind of give this award, like you said, I'm okay with Lujan receiving it.
Yeah, I don't think we need to dwell on it too much. We've certainly made clear our stance on Gonzalo Lujan. Okay. First award for you, Mark. What you got for me?
I got the Side Quest Award.
The Side Quest Award. Ooh.
Yeah.
Let's see. Can't be Messi. It could be Busquets. I'm going to guess Busquets, but hold on. Because he's completed his career and he's going for side quest now. And the side quest was his 20th assist for Inter Miami in his career. I don't know. What is it?
No, it's Jordi Alba. I think
Okay.
he's completed his main quest at the left back position and this new side quest at left wing, left-sided center mid, left, whatever you want to call it, left attacking mid. He's enjoyed it. in a main mission of a game, you do it, but you always come across a side quest that you see it, you see the prizes, you see whatever comes with it, and you kind of click on it and you enjoy it. I think Jordi Alba's enjoying this freedom to attack without the big defensive responsibilities, with no Allen back there and being someone who they can rely on, and it shows in the offensive game plan for Inter Miami that Jordi Alba is going to be integral part of this attack, getting forward, finding Messi, tucking in, putting in balls into the box, and at times finishing. So it gives a new dynamic approach to the left-sided attack for Miami, something they haven't seen all season, specifically because we play with a center mid out there, and he's not going to give what Jordi Alba gives. So I think Jordi Alba's doing a great job at providing width and pace and space and triangulation play with everyone else, and really helping this team score goals.
Yeah, Jordi Alba. I don't know how I feel about this position for him. I'm not against it. I'm just uneasy with it. We have seen him have to be that left midfielder, left winger before, and occasionally it works, but he ends up getting a little too rangy, I think. And clearly for him, his best position is his best part of the field is to be high on that left side, because he whips in that amazing cross, and he makes those runs in behind that Messi and Busquets can find. And his skill set is very clearly well defined, but he also is very technical and an incredibly high quality player. So when you put him in other parts of the field, he can still operate at a pretty effective level. And we saw that last night with that assist to Messi, where he's on sort of
on the right
central
side,
right part.
Yeah.
In that sort of central right channel, and he just inserts a perfect pass to Messi. But I feel like he loses some of his effectiveness. So I'm not 100% sold on it, but it was obviously very good Tuesday night against Seattle. He gets a goal and assist, and it was again reasonable. He had a solid performance.
It's
against.
going to be interesting if we continue to see this. I just don't know if Mascherano sticks to it.
Well, and the other thing about that is we didn't have a ton of options.
Yeah.
Prior to last night, and maybe even last night, we didn't have a ton of options in the starting 11. Without Luis Suarez, you kind of have to put Tadeo Allende up top, and without Alan Abondo. And all of your other wide options seemingly vanished overnight. Talasco Segovia, Baltasar Rodriguez, Fafa Picault, all just not in the picture to play from the starting 11. They were all injured last Tuesday. Last night, a couple of them came back, but maybe weren't ready to go 60, 75 minutes. Silvetti, a new guy that came in, doesn't seem like he's ready to start yet either. So it was almost by necessity. You needed a wide player that could do that in Jordi Alba. But now that Luis Suarez is coming back, you can then push Tadeo Allende out there. Baltasar and Segovia might be guys that are healthy enough to start on Wednesday night. So I'm with you. I'm not sure we're going to see it again.
But Jordi Alba's enjoying his time up there. I know that.
Okay. Yeah. And he gets another assist, so that makes 3 goal contributions in 2 games.
Yeah.
And one of the things I will say, ultra aggressive in this game, that's an area, that's a play style that Jordi Alba thrives in. And so if we are throwing numbers forward and Jordi Alba's in and around the box with the intricate runs that he's able to make and sort of combine with some of these other guys that have a high technical floor, like a Baltasar, obviously Messi, Suarez, et cetera, Segovia, and potentially Silvetti. That's an area where I think he's going to get a lot of goal contributions. So it is, I agree with you, something he enjoys doing in that type of game. And a solid performance from him last night across the board. Just focusing on last night. Okay, my first award is the Sunflowers in Sun Showers Award.
It rained yesterday in the Sunflower State. Not in the Sunflowers. Wait.
It's not the Sunflower State.
No, Sunshine State. Wow, where are my heads all over the place? I'm sorry. This is Yannick Bright.
What makes you say that?
In the rain.
Mark, you got to realize on this show, it's not good enough to guess. You also
I know it's not. I haven't. Sometimes with Sora, with Sora, I'm perfect at guessing. With you, I haven't gotten one.
Well, that's because his awards aren't as good as mine.
I'm not saying.
Yeah.
I'm not
We'll have to
saying.
respond to that.
I plead the fifth.
Sunflowers and sun showers.
Sunflowers and sun showers. Still going with Yannick Bright. Downpouring rain in the stadium. Growing part of the game. Growing like a flower. Yannick Bright. I don't know.
It was pouring last night, especially in
It
that first
was.
half. It felt maybe a little lighter in the second half, at
It
least
yeah.
from the TV.
It didn't
Didn't
start.
rain.
It didn't rain in the second half.
Okay. But it pouring in the first half. You could see Maxi
No,
Falcone's hair was
100%
like, his hair started to look more like,
downpour.
just down. And I thought there was some moments where Ustari, who is the recipient of this award, Oscar Ustari, looked maybe a little shaky. He had a moment where he goes up for the ball, doesn't collect. He has a really, really scary moment in the 24th minute where he goes to collect a shot from way outside the box and it kind of skids through his legs and it kind of bounced off his calf and then squibbles 6 inches outside of net. But actually, I think a lot of people are going to be negative on his performance. And on the rewatch, I saw a lot of little moments I liked from him. 2 goals given up, nothing he could do about either of them. And obviously there was some moments in the first half where he looked shaky, but on the rewatch, I thought a lot of them were, except for the moment between his legs, like imposed on by some of his teammates, including that moment I mentioned with Lujan, who kind of backs into him. But aside from that, he made some nice saves. I thought he had some like important moments that went under the radar the first time I watched it. And the second time I watched it, I was like, actually, that could have been really dangerous if he didn't make that play. So I thought on the whole, like I'm giving it a positive game for Oscar Ustari, even though that might not be the biggest takeaway because of some of the scary moments early on. Sun shower, but he ended up being beautiful because of it. So Sunflower and Sun Shower Award goes to Oscar Ustari.
I like that award. It's a very, very pleasant award. I thought Ustadi had a fine game, to be honest. That first instance where he let the ball go between his legs, I was like, is that ball in the back of the net or is it to the side? Watching it again is like 6 inches to the left of the post and it's out. 6 inches to the right and it's a goal for DC United. But he did have good moments, acting as a sweeper at times, heading a ball out. Did you know he was 100% on his passes yesterday?
I didn't, but that
He's 29 for 29 on accurate balls, 8 for 8 on long balls. Pretty good. So, and he had a couple. He had a couple saves, and a couple moments where
he definitely had some key saves.
Yeah,
and it was in moments where Inter Miami felt like they were in control of the run of play. So
and
DC gets an opportunity, and you kind of think, well, Inter Miami's in control of the game, so that shot, like it wasn't super dangerous, but it actually was very dangerous, and Ustari came up big for that. So
yeah,
I wanted to make sure he was recognized for that.
and I didn't fault him for any of the misplayed balls in the air, as you said. He got knocked over maybe on 2, one by Allende, one by Lujan. So I thought he had a fine game in terms of the 2 goals that he couldn't do anything about.
Yeah. Okay. What is your second award?
The flashback award.
The flashback award.
You probably disagree with me on this, but I'm ready for it.
Okay. And then I might disagree with you on this. This is Tadeo Allende because he looked like how he did. It was a flashback to the early parts of the season. He gets a goal in a one-on-one situation, and it reminded you of when he was scoring like 4 or 5 goals a month in March and April.
That's a very good guess, and I probably should have maybe given it to him, but it goes to Rodrigo de Paul. Watching him yesterday. I know we mentioned that.
Hold on, stop. I'm sorry. I have to before you start. I just put up the graphic, and I just need to shout out our graphics department for giving him white hair.
The white hair, I love it. I love that. That's amazing.
Sorry, I have to stop it. And if you're listening on audio, I apologize. But clutch from the graphics department, and you were saying.
I know we talked about, we mentioned that he's that outlet on the right side when we push our right back forward a little bit. But yesterday I saw flashbacks of his play at Atletico, specifically in the defensive part of the game, where he was kind of putting in tackles. He was progressing the ball after winning a tackle across the pitch, whether it was north and south or east and west. He was He was bypassing players. He was taking the ball from the center backs. He was trying to really get himself into the game. And he made a couple runs into the box, put a couple corners in, made some good tackles, and was getting down and dirty like the flashback of Rodrigo de Paul that we used to see with Atletico Madrid. And maybe this is kind of the stepping stone for him to finally pick it up for Inter Miami and get going into the latter part of the season and into the playoffs.
Yeah. He had a moment in the 51st minute where Maxi Falcone kind of floats a ball over his head, and it's just to no one. It's an obvious turnover, but he doesn't respond particularly well, and then they just push the ball right through his channel into Benteke, who forces Ustari to make a nice play. And Falcone kind of recovers to put Benteke off balance. Aside from that, I thought he was really good defensively. Anything you're talking about offensively, I don't necessarily agree. I still was underwhelmed with his ball progression. I was still underwhelmed with him in the final third. He did have a moment where he plays in Messi in the 89th minute, so I'll give him credit for that. But defensively, this was his best game, I thought, in weeks. Like he was on top of it. He was technically sound in the right spot at the right time. He had his footwork right, and he was playing like he should be playing defensively. And so I agree with you. I think that was worthy of pointing out because I thought he was good defensively, and I don't know if we've seen that a ton from him over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I agree.
Anything? Why is it called the just
because he was when he was at Atletico.
Did you watch him a lot? Did you watch him a lot?
I would watch La Liga, and I would watch Atletico games. I'd watch Real games, Barca games. Those. I'd watch football whenever it was on, and at times Atletico play this very defensive type of football with Diego Simeone, and oftentimes he was sitting back with Koke, and Koke was kind of that deep line playmaker, and De Paul was kind of the engine in the midfield, the Diego Gomez, type of player, making those tackles, advancing the ball, receiving the ball from center backs, running across the face of the center backs, and just trying to get the ball moving, and really putting in tackles and eliminating whatever offensive game plan other teams had.
But he's not. Last night wasn't a Diego Gomez type.
No. But it was a performance that I saw, or flashbacks in terms.
Is that what he has been?
He has been that.
So you wouldn't say yesterday was really what he's capable of?
No, he's capable of way, way, way more. But there were flashbacks of that, led me to believe that he's starting to get into that rhythm.
Yeah, I thought it was a good game from him defensively, but I think that's also partially because my standards and expectations for him have been pretty low.
Pretty low, yeah, which is fair.
Diego Gomez would be in people's faces the second they touch the ball, and he would just be an absolute engine. And there's no comparison to what Rodrigo de Paul's been so far.
No.
But based on the lower standard I think we've seen from de Paul, last night it was good.
One of his better games, yeah.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Okay, my last award is the Static Shock Award.
Static Shock Award.
I think Zor would love this award.
Does it have to do with hair? And what happens when you get a static shock? I'm thinking.
No.
Oh, no,
there's a superhero named Static Shock, and I think
God, I'm bad with superheroes. Don't know the superheroes. I was like, nah.
It's not really related to the superhero, but
dude, I don't know. Then Static Shock. That's Noah Allen.
Why is it Noah Allen? Come on, I need
more
than just
I don't know.
I guess.
I love Noah Allen. You love Noah Allen. You want to give him an award? Something ties him to a superhero at the left back, and he's a Greek superhero.
The award goes to Tadeo Allende because I feel like our expectation of him had been very static and negative, low, but static for 2.5 months. It's been very poor from him. And last night, not only does he get the goal, but he plays well. And I'm wondering if this is going to change our opinion on Tadeo Allende or what his role should be moving forward. And I wanted to give him an award more as a basis to talk about what Tadeo Allende is going to be for Inter Miami, because we're now getting into the last 6 games of the season, heading into the playoffs. It is no longer time to sit him for 3 games hoping he regains form. Like, that was 7 games ago. Well, he should have been doing that 10 games ago. Now you kind of have to like gear up so that everyone's in good form going into the playoffs, and you need points, by the way. So what is Tadeo Allende on this team moving forward? As we just mentioned with Jordi Alba, Velasco Segovia, you think would be ready to start. Baltasar, he's only started 1 game this year, but looked good in that 1 game. Matteo Silvetti, building back his fitness. Fafa Picault is a guy that's in there. And, of course, maybe none of them start because Luis Suarez just comes back into the 11 and Jordi Alba stays out there high. What do you think? Where are you at with Tadeo Allende now? And has the last 2 games changed anything? Because, by the way, I thought he played pretty – like, he was fine. Here's the thing. There's been, like, moments from Tadeo Allende where he's been not involved. But then there's been moments where he's fumbling the ball. He's putting the shot wide every single time. You can tell there's, like, a lack of confidence. And that hasn't shown itself over the last couple games. He's looked like a real professional soccer player. And he was now rewarded with a goal. Sorry. That's my context. Go ahead.
No. 2 shows ago, I gave him the Back to Basics award. Basically, getting back to the basics of a striker, finishing small touches in small spaces, controlling the ball, and all that stuff. Fitting it now with Suarez possibly coming back, getting that starting spot back. Maybe Alba stays out there. Does he become a super sub? Does he start as a second striker and Messi as a 10 and a diamond? It's very up in the air where Allende fits into this team. But I agree. The notion around Allende the last 2.5 months was very, very negative. He lacked a lot of confidence, missed a lot of chances in important games for Inter Miami. And like you said, the last 2 games I felt he's put in worthy performances and he gets rewarded with a goal. And now it's all about building on it and keeping that confidence. And when your number's called, you have to answer. Whether it's starting, whether it's coming off for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, it's up to the manager at this point to where he plays. He could be starting at the left wing position for all we know, and we go back to Allen and Falcon as center backs and Alba as a left back when Suarez returns.
No, but what do you want to see? Sorry, that's just pondered. But what do you want to see?
I would still want to see him as like a second striker. I think he's very good in the air.
In the starting 11 or off the bench?
Off the bench.
Okay.
I would like to see him as a second striker, specifically because he gives an offensive output with vertical runs, and he brings those fresh legs on, and he's able to beat defenders in the air. That if you need a goal or you're trying to chase a game or cause chaos in the box, he's a guy you can bring in. I just don't think he's going to start when the full team is ready, possibly by the New York game.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that, and we have gotten a lot of comments pre-game show. If Allende's in the starting 11, people are like, "Why is this guy starting again?" And I get it. There has been long stretches recently where Allende has looked absolutely below par, like lacking confidence in his own ability to touch the ball. Sort of is maybe how I would put it. He hasn't looked that way over the last 2 games, and yet now he's coming into a situation where he's going to have to fight with a lot of guys that have proven something. And not just that, but a couple guys that maybe haven't proven much, but that Mascherano likes. Baltasar, I don't think he's proven a ton. Silvetti hasn't proven much. Like these guys, but they look promising. And clearly Javier Mascherano likes them or he wouldn't have brought them in. So he's now going into a situation where he's got to compete with those guys for minutes. And then obviously Velasco Segovia. And I don't know how easily he wins those, but I am glad I'm not quite as nervous to see him on the field as I would have been 3 weeks ago, because I think there's still a role, an important role for him to play over the course of the next 2 months or however long this season lasts. I think Inter Miami's going to need him to get like 2 or 3 or 4 more goals this season
Yeah.
if they want to go all the way. And so for him to go into a bench role, which I still expect, come in as a super sub, still going to get minutes no matter what, virtually every game. But doing that with some confidence, with the goal under his belt, like I think that's, and it's a good goal. Like his last goal, I think, was against the Galaxy. He had a number of missed opportunities in that game. So like, even though he scored a goal, I don't know if he comes away feeling great. This one, I think he scores a goal, but also plays fine throughout the rest of the game. So I think it's good for him to go to the bench and to that super sub role with some confidence.
I agree. Just building, it's a confidence thing at this point for him.
Yeah. Anyone else you want to talk about? I mean, obviously Messi, Busquets got an assist. Someone on the Raw reaction mentioned they didn't think he had a particularly good game. I didn't notice that even on the rewatch, but I wasn't really looking for it. Yannick Bright had a shot on goal off a cross from Jordi Alba. Yannick Bright has some comments yesterday that I'm too afraid to go into on this podcast. I mean, is there any other player you wanted to single out or mention or talk about?
I thought Noah Allen played a pretty good game, pretty decent game. Solid defensively, was able to advance the ball, beat Benteke and a couple of their attackers at times to recover a ball and recycle possession. So I thought he played well at the left back position.
Yeah, I agree. I wholeheartedly agree. And this is his first real run of games consecutively in a long time. I know we feel like he's just a part of the first team, like first, starting 11. But since he got injured in the Club World Cup, he has not had a consistent run of games like this. And all of a sudden, last night, he's making some nice saves. He had a moment where he has a really nice recovery on a Benteke opportunity. Like he was coming through clutch in emergency situations for Inter Miami. And as we talked about and spent a large portion of the show, if they're going to have a more aggressive posture with the structure of their lineup, especially later in games when they're throwing guys forward, you need pacey, good one-on-one defenders to help you recover when the ball does go the other way inevitably. And he showed that last night. I think he's still Inter Miami's best defender, so I'm glad you brought it up. I thought he was really good last night, not just as a left back, but when he was forced to be that center back in that back two once they sort of rearranged everything.
Yeah.
Ian Frey had a moment where right as soon as he comes on, he puts a nice hard low cross into Tadeo Allende, who's making that run in behind. He kind of gets grabbed by the shoulder and it throws him off balance. I don't know if you saw this at the game, but I thought it was a penalty in real time. I did really slow it down and tried to rewatch the replay today when I was rewatching the game, and he ends up touching the ball despite getting pulled down by the defender. And he gets a foot on it, and it bounces off the knee or the leg of Barraza, the goalkeeper for DC United. I think that was a penalty, and I think
I shouted penalty from my seat.
I still think that's a penalty. I'm surprised VAR didn't look at it. I don't know if the fact that he still was able to get some sort of a shot off and on goal, if that sort of makes it a higher bar to go back and challenge it, because maybe they felt he still got a solid shot off. But I thought that was a penalty. I went back, I looked at it really frame by frame, slowed it down, and I thought that was a penalty. So Ian Frey with that cross that set that up, but I thought there was another penalty there for Inter Miami. And then the last two players I want to talk about are the young guys, Baltasar and Silvetti, and I want to get your thoughts on them. Let's start with Baltasar, because he was building into something, I think. Couple nice bench appearances. He has that, he gets that really fantastic goal. Comes in, gets his first start against Orlando City. He looks solid, like he's ready to go. Doesn't play in the final, has an injury, finally comes back yesterday. I didn't think he did much yesterday. I've not really been impressed with him from a defensive standpoint this year, but offensively, he's got aggression and technical ability and clearly not afraid to take a shot from the edge of the box. What did you think of him last night?
I think it's just pure offense. Last night, he had this great half-body feint on the right side of the pitch in the second half where he absolutely just The defender had no chance of getting him. Body painted, let the ball roll past him, and played with the defender one-on-one, and was able to find Messi and just hold possession, things like that. But defensively, he is very aggressive at times. He puts in these tackles that are, very scary. Specifically, that one that was outside the box that, you saw was that you thought it was a penalty. You say it was. I haven't seen the replay. I couldn't tell you from the stadium. Um, it's things like that that worry me with a player with such high energy, and he wants to use it 100% of the time. I think he's just got to be more cautious on the defensive side of the ball. But offensively, I think he's got the tools, and if he can stay healthy, he can be a very good piece for Inter Miami going forward.
Very diplomatic of you. All offense. I think that's an interesting way to put it. I'm gonna keep that in mind
Yeah.
when I continue to watch him play. I think that's a new framework for me that I never really thought of, and I'm going to keep that in mind. Speaking of all offense, let's talk about Matteo Salvetti, because this guy runs everywhere, and he runs at 1,000,000 miles an hour and hard, and just wants to make an impact. You can just see the desire on his face. He earns the penalty, is given the penalty. He fires it off the crossbar. I don't want to punish the kid too much. I don't even think he should have been in that situation to miss the penalty. Like, I think if it wasn't for that, we're talking about how, like, he's buzzing around and all this stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not sure he really had a big impact aside from earning the penalty, but I don't know. What do you think of his performance? Because a lot of people were very high on his performance on Tuesday night. You coming back down on it, doesn't have a shot on goal. He earns the penalty. He has an almost assist to Lasco Segovia, but I think on the replay he was aiming for Messi and missed him. So I don't know. What did you think of Salvetti?
I think
we're still in the early phases of a player where we're microanalyzing every single minute.
Yeah,
but,
I mean,
so keeping that in mind, what do you think?
He's full of just energy and just wants to press and win the ball and do whatever it takes to make a mistake for the team and make the right. I think he's so keen on making the right play and making the right pass. And I think he's just he's playing with Messi and playing with all these big stars at such a young age. I think all the emotions are just like everywhere in his head when he gets into a game. As when he starts to get more minutes and start settling into the game, I think you'll see what he really has and what refined skills he has at such a young age. But all that pressing ability and the energy to run and the fresh legs will give a new dynamic to the substitution pattern that Mascherano has.
I'm not sure pressing is what I would call it, but
it's just running blindly out there, I think.
He kind of reminds me of Diego Gomez's first couple weeks at Inter Miami, where he was just running hard and fast. He even admitted after that he was like so nervous and just trying to impress so hard that he was overdoing it. But of course, we all saw what Diego Gomez turned into. I think that if he starts a game, it will look completely different to what it looks like in these first two appearances.
Yeah.
He's just hyper. Like a little kid trying to impress.
He looks like a dog with zoomies.
Yeah, that's exactly what he looks like. He does understand, just inherently, if Messi's open and moving towards goal, get it to him. And that is, I think, important for a young kid to understand where he's supposed to be on this team. And so as he continues to train and play more minutes with these guys, both in practice and in games, he's going to understand, he's going to learn where he should be and what runs to make and all that stuff. So it's all very early. It's, he's a very exciting young prospect, but I think maybe a little bit less, oh my God, he's going to save the season than everyone was on Tuesday.
Yeah.
But that's okay because he's a young kid and he's going to go through his ups and downs, and that's okay.
Yep.
Okay, let's get to where Inter Miami goes from here. And sorry, anything else about this game? Anyone else you want to mention or talk about?
I think we pretty much covered everyone, minus Telasco. He had that chance in front of goal, but like you said, I think it was for Messi. I think he still should have put it on frame, regardless.
No, of course, he'll be frustrated with that one, but Telasco looked like Telasco in that game, in my opinion. Okay, here's the table. Inter Miami, 2 games in hand on everyone, 3 games in hand on almost everyone else. They are climbing the table at 52 points. I still can't believe Columbus is sitting in 8th place with 50 points. For the record, most times you can get into the playoffs with about 40 points. Last year, the tiebreaker went to Atlanta and DC United. Atlanta goes through on 40 points. That's certainly not going to be enough this year, obviously. NYCFC on Wednesday. That's the hottest team in MLS. They've won 6 out of their last 7 games. They had, I can't believe I forgot his name, Nico Gonzalez, I think. They signed this summer, and ever since he came into the 11, he's completely revolutionized their team. Again, 6 wins out of 7. Inter Miami never beats NYCFC. Orlando City 1 point behind. Columbus and Nashville 2 points behind. Charlotte, NYCFC 1 point ahead. Like, it is tight. I want to get to the Supporter Shield in a second, but let's start with the Eastern Conference. Inter Miami plays NYCFC on Wednesday night. It's a road game. We have never beaten NYCFC in New York.
Yeah.
After that, they play at Toronto, who you guys can see is in 12th place and eliminated. Then they play home games against Chicago, who will be fighting for one of that final playoff spot, but is obviously not going to be the cream of the crop. The New England Revolution, who are going to be eliminated by that point, that's at home. Atlanta United, who are going to be eliminated at that point, and that's at home. And they finish the season with Nashville, that game's in Nashville, but it's a Nashville team that's really been struggling lately. Their form has fallen off a cliff. They're playing in the U.S. Open Cup final. I think if they win that game, they're not going to care where they end up in the table. So for them, that game might not mean a ton.
Mm-hmm.
It might mean everything to Inter Miami. How are you feeling about NYCFC this week? How are you feeling about the table as it sort of stands? Especially in the Eastern Conference.
I never feel good about NYCFC away. Regardless, even at home, I don't feel good about them. We never win. I'm convinced it's the pitch, the dimensions of the pitch, what it looks like on the field, how short it is or how narrow it is at times. I just feel like it's either you're playing at Yankee Stadium. It's
not going to be at Yankee Stadium. It's going to be at Citi Field, which is still a baseball field.
Okay.
Still a baseball field.
Yeah.
But it's a little bit less narrow. This one might actually be regulation.
Okay.
Probably not, but maybe.
Regardless, New York City is a good team.
And they're in great form.
They just got beat by DC before us. DC beat them
weeks ago.
A couple weeks. But like you said, 6 out of 7. Very good team that we have not done.
Okay, but moving not just focus on that game. The last 6 games of the season.
I feel like when you say you have Chicago, New England Revolution, Toronto, Atlanta, and then Nashville, those teams are winnable games. Against teams that are 3 of them at home, especially against teams that are out of the playoff picture. I think Inter Miami has a real good chance for that Supporter Shield if you're putting performances like you're expected to.
I think Wednesday night might be the big one for Inter Miami. Again, they've never beaten NYCFC in New York.
It might be the turning point. It could be the big turning point for this season.
If they win that game, they'll have 55 points. There'll be 2 games in hand on everyone else. The path opens up for them, I think, is maybe the way to say it. If they win that game, everything's to play for in every game, and that adds an intensity and like expectation, and I think will raise the level of the players in the final 5 games. And if they lose that game, it may actually feel like the Supporter Shield is out of reach for Inter Miami, although not mathematically, it will become much more difficult.
Mm-hmm.
I think Wednesday night might be the game that will determine if Inter Miami loses the Supporter Shield or if they're going to take it all the way to the final match day. Yeah. Like, I think it will go down to the final match day if they win against NYC.
If you win that game, everything is in front of you. The Supporter Shield is you have the path set for you. 3 of those games are at home against opponents that you should handle. You should be able to beat.
Yeah.
Wednesday night is a crucial game for that reason.
Yeah, because if you win, you feel good. You've now got a 3-game winning streak. You go to Toronto. If you can handle business there, now you got a 4-game winning streak with 3 easy games at home coming up. Like it really does all sort of create a path for Inter Miami.
I may have to go to those games. I'm undefeated this season at Chase Stadium. I'm gonna have to do it.
Okay, let's talk about some of the other teams still in the race. Philadelphia
Yeah.
Union, because Tom Bogart put out a tweet, and I sort of did some of the lookups for what's left. I think there's 5 teams really in the Supporters Shield race. That's Philadelphia, who's currently leading that race, 60 points, 3 games left. Cincinnati with 58 points, 3 games left. Obviously behind them. San Diego, 57 points with 3 games left. Probably, I think, the least likely. Vancouver has 55 points, but they have 5 games left. They have the highest. If every team wins every game left, they will win the Supporters Shield. And then Miami, 52 points, 6 games left. They can match Vancouver in terms of most possible points, but Vancouver has a much better goal differential. So it would be unlikely Miami would catch that. Vancouver has, well, let's start with Philadelphia. Philadelphia has 2 tough games. They play NYCFC still, and they play Charlotte. Those are the 2 hottest teams in the MLS right now. I know Charlotte lost NYCFC, but aside from that loss, these 2 have been incredible over the last 5-6 weeks. That's still on Philadelphia's schedule. There's every chance they finish with 63 points. And for the rest of the schedule, maybe 64, 65. So when you're Inter Miami and you're talking about getting to 67, 68, 69, I don't think Philadelphia is going to get there.
They have because they have 2 games. They have 2 games left, right? Yeah.
They have 3 games left.
They have 3. Okay.
And 2 of them are against NYCFC and
I
Charlotte.
want to say Charlotte. Yeah. Okay.
So that's tough. That's really tough for Philadelphia.
Those are 2 tough teams right there.
Cincinnati, 2 points behind. They still have to play Orlando City, who's desperate for points, and the New York Red Bulls, who is absolutely desperate for points, trying to get into that playoff spot, battling with Chicago for 9th spot. So not quite as difficult as Philadelphia, but still they're not give me games like a lot of what Inter Miami has left. And then we look at the West Coast, or the Western Conference. You got Vancouver. They have 6 games to play in the regular overall, 5 MLS games. But they also have to play the Canadian Championship. So that's a big game for them that they're going to be hyper-focused on. Aside from that, they still have to play Portland, who's pretty solid, who's a playoff team, Seattle, who's been in good form, and they have to play Orlando City, plus the Canadian Championship. So 4 of their last 6 games, still pretty difficult. I don't know if that Canadian Championship is going to be difficult, but they're going to go all out for it. So even though they have the best path in terms of how easy, like if they control their own destiny, it's a very difficult path. And then San Diego, who I think probably is maybe out of it, they have the easiest remaining schedule. They have 3 games, Portland, Houston, and San Jose. None of those teams are, Portland being the toughest, but Houston and San Jose sort of outside the playoff picture, outside of the elite teams picture. So if Inter Miami gets through this NYCFC game on Wednesday, they will have by far the easiest schedule remaining of all of the teams in contention, if they can win on Wednesday night, which means if you win, you're still in the hunt. If they lose all 3 points, they might be out of the hunt, and it might not matter with the remaining schedule. So I hope that clarifies what Inter Miami's situation is. If they can win Wednesday night, and they would have to do something they have never done before, which is go on the road to NYCFC and win in New York City. If they can do that, I think they become the Supporters Shield favorites. And that is not something I would have said a week ago, 2 weeks ago. But the schedule has really opened up for them if they can win on Wednesday night.
A big if.
Should we spend another 5 minutes talking about how important Wednesday night's game is, or do you think we got a point crossed?
I mean, we can stress it even more, but it's important, man. It is extremely important that the lineup is the correct lineup. The players are in the correct position. We have to play our best game that Wednesday.
Luis Suarez will be back. Fafa Picault might be back. Javier Mascherano mentioned that Fafa Picault's injury is not that serious. David Ruiz's injury, a little bit more serious. So, and is in terms of him being out for like a month. Fafa Picault might be back. But also guys like Telasco Segovia, Baltasar, I would expect to be available to start if needed. And of course, Luis Suarez will certainly be in the 11.
I'm reading, I could be wrong, that Telasco suspended for red card, but did he already serve his red card suspension against Seattle or Charlotte?
Telasco, you mean?
Because I'm looking, yellow card. It says he's suspended under his thing. I'm looking at but I guess we can wait for the
Okay.
for
Potentially,
MLS.
Tabasco
Yeah,
won't be available. I
but
heard
I
Ian
don't know.
Frey might be sort of bumping up against that. I'm not sure. I think you need like 8 yellow cards at this point in the season.
Yeah,
Maybe it's just 5 still. But anyways, not the point. We'll have all that information for the
yeah.
pregame show. Last talking point, because this flashed across my screen in the middle of this episode, and I wanted to come back to it. Sergio Busquets potentially retiring. Now, here's just a wild theory that someone wrote on Twitter. Sergio Busquets, the last 2 years, being paid $8 million, the second highest paid player, DP, all that stuff. Inter Miami probably not in a position to give him a DP spot heading into 2026, and maybe that's part of this, and maybe he still wants that money. And by the way, I'm just speculating, but one fan theory that might get him that money.
And can I guess?
Sure.
They relieve Mascherano of his duties and he takes over.
That's the fan theory that came across. Busquets is Inter Miami's next manager. I don't have any thoughts on that I want to get into right now, but it's certainly fun to dream about because it does mean Javier Mascherano wouldn't be the coach next year. Okay. Mark, anything on your mind before we wrap this episode up?
No, man, I think you had a great show. Covered a lot of interesting topics aside from the game and what's to come for Inter Miami. Can't stress Wednesday enough.
It's big. Guys, we'll be back Wednesday night, 1 hour before kickoff for the pregame show. Hope you all enjoy your evening. Enjoy this 3-2 victory. It was much needed, and it gives Inter Miami a chance to go on the road and create their own destiny on Wednesday night. Other than that, guys, enjoy your week, and we will see you next time. Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. Do us a favor and hit that like and subscribe button. Since our first viewer, sharing this with you all has been the very best part. So from the beginning until the end, thank you for being a part of this and have a wonderful day.